Hey guys, it's Liz here, and I'm coming on to talk to you guys today about breast implant illness and whether or not your breast implants could be making you sick. I decided to pre-record this video. I think in the future I will be going live about this topic, but because this is the first time that I am talking about it, and because it is such an emotional thing, I decided that pre-recording it would be the best because I want to make sure that I get my message out clearly, directly, respectfully, and on my terms. Because as much as I love going live to share with you guys every other concept that I go live about every single week with Biohacking Bombshell, this is a different type of story. And so I need to kind of preface this conversation saying I know there will be people that watch this that absolutely resonate with what I'm talking about and full on support me and give me love and send prayers and become aware and educated in this topic. But there will also be other people that sit there and think she is crazy. There is no way that this is a thing. There's no way that that's true. Think that I'm a total quack. I mean, guys, it doesn't matter what you talk about in life. There are always going to be people that agree with you, and there are going to be people that think you are nuts. If me sharing this really uncomfortable part of my life helps to change even just one person and save one woman from feeling like she's alone or from feeling like she's crazy, then this is worth it. So for those of you guys that haven't followed my journey, in 2011, if you haven't known me since then, I got breast implants. I was 20 years old. I was a sophomore in college, and I got saline-filled breast implants at 20 years old. My mom had gotten breast implants after having 3 kids. I knew countless people that had them, and I was at the point where I was a double A. I never had boobs. I never had boobs. And you know, you have the little mosquito bites, and I got mocked when I was younger for being super flat chested, and you know, kids are cruel. But by the time I got to age 20, it wasn't about other people anymore. It wasn't about the mocking. It literally was about me feeling comfortable with who I was and what I wanted and what I perceived as feminine and beautiful. And so many people will hear me say that, and they'll say, well, that is what society has projected on you and made you think that you have to have boobs to be beautiful. I didn't necessarily think that, because I would see people like Cameron Diaz, like freaking hot ass actress, doesn't have much there and is gorgeous and successful and brilliant. And so I know that there are people, famous people out there, gifted people out there, beautiful people out there that don't have boobs, but are successful and feel beautiful and are confident. And so it wasn't about what society was telling me to do. It was about what I personally wanted. And clearly many of you guys watching this will know I'm into health and wellness. I'm into fitness. And the fact that I was busting my butt in the gym and I felt confident in every other area of my body except for my chest, I felt like for how hard I worked in the gym, for how hard I was working in the kitchen for my nutrition, I didn't feel as confident in my body as I felt I should. And I felt like the only thing missing was breasts. And so guys, I tried other means before, by the way. Yes, I understand that you can get padded bras. Believe me, I had them. But when you have nothing to fill it up and you have nothing to push up, it's really difficult to make it happen. I spent, you know, middle school, high school, early years of college, ask my mom. I literally would buy bathing suits just for the specific pads or the little chicken cutlets that they would have in it. And for every single one of my school dances, every single prom, I actually duct taped pads to my boobs because regular bras wouldn't work because I had nothing to sit in there and fill them. So if I would lean forward, and this happened to me before, if I would lean forward and, you know, my bra fell forward, it was like nothing was suction cupped to me enough. I would have had to wear a sports bra. So that was kind of how I strategized every single outfit I wore. I didn't feel confident, regardless of how many people said, oh, you look great, you have great abs, you know, I love your arms, I love your shoulders. I'm like, I don't feel great. I don't feel feminine. I was in college and honestly didn't really I struggled to pick out an outfit to go out because I didn't feel like I could fill in anything like a normal female would be able to. And so I went through the whole duct taping stuff to my breasts to try and feel better. I actually ordered this cream. I think it's called the Perfect Woman. And I was looking up like breast enhancement creams and certain, I was on birth control by that point, hoping that I could, stimulate my hormones because I had eating disorders earlier in my life. And I'm like, cool, I stunted my growth, I stunted my hormones, and it's not going to happen for me, right? So I had already been on birth control to try and stimulate the process because I couldn't get my cycle on my own. Like, there had been previous damage before all this. So I got to the point where I was like, it's never going to happen. I tried to rub Miracle Grow cream on my boobs. I tried to basically lift as much as I could doing chest at the gym, hoping that maybe I could build some pecs. And that wasn't working. I was strong, but it wasn't giving me voluptuous cleavage like I was looking for. And so I started to have the conversation with my mom first because she had already had boobs, and I thought maybe I'll win her over first. And then I had to have the conversation with my dad because it's not like my mom was going to sneak behind my dad's back and let me get, breast implants. I had to have the conversation with him. And so after having the support and blessing of my mom, and after having a very heartfelt conversation with my dad explaining to him why this was so essential to me, and my stepsister had actually just gotten hers done a little bit before, and he started to understand the thought process behind it and the reason why I wanted it. And hesitantly, he still gave me his blessing. My boyfriend that I had at the time, honestly, I didn't have his blessing. He didn't want me to get them. He was really against it. And so when people were like, oh, you're looking to try and like appeal to the opposite sex and this and that, my boyfriend didn't even want me to get them. He's like, you're perfect the way that you are. And he truly did believe that. This was for me. I was happily in a relationship at that time, and I literally still wanted this for me. It wasn't for him. It wasn't for anybody else. It was for me. And so any woman that decides that she wants to get breast implants, it's to each their own. This is no judgment, zero judgment to anybody that is thinking about getting them or already has them and doesn't want to get them out. So I am not judging you. I'm simply sharing my story. I just want to make that clear because guys, up until recently, I didn't regret getting them once. Not once. Ask anyone who has ever asked me up until this point, do you like them? Do you love them? Do you regret getting them? Because I've always been really open about it. I just don't care. Like, people knew I was super flat before, and then all of a sudden you have boobs, so people are going to know. I wasn't going to be like, oh no, I just decided to develop at age 20. No, it's not like I gained a bunch of weight and all of a sudden some of it started to go to my boobs. Like, there was no way of hiding that I had gotten breast implants. And so when people would ask me, do you like them? Do you regret it? Did it hurt? Whatever. I was like, first of all, I got them done on a Friday while I was in college, went back to class on a Monday. It hurt less than my wisdom teeth, and I feel confident and comfortable. And I would suggest any woman that's thinking about getting them to get them. That's what I would say. Like, I'm like, more power to you. Do it if you want to do it. One of the best things I've ever done for me. I said that up until about 6-8 months ago when breast implant illness was brought to my awareness. Because guys, I got them done in February of 2011. I went with saline implants thinking it's not going to be toxic. I'm not having silicone because we knew of some of the dangers at that point. I'm like, oh my gosh, if it would rupture, it would leak. Silicone's all over your body. I'm not doing that. That's dangerous. And the dangers of them were way more discussed, acknowledged, and I feel like saline was definitely like projected to me or conveyed to me as safer because I'm thinking worst comes to worst, say for some reason my boob would pop. Worst comes to worst, I'm just gonna have a deflated boob because it's just saline solution leaking out. So I use saline solution with my contacts all the time. I've had contacts since I was in 4th grade. What's the worst that could happen? I literally have like a leaky boob and whatever. Like, I can fix it. I didn't think it would be dangerous or toxic to my body ever. And I had conversations with my surgeon during the consultation before I decided to put them in. And I had a couple things on like my checklist where like if I couldn't get an answer that I was comfortable with to these questions, I wasn't going to do it. So if I couldn't breastfeed with implants, I wasn't going to do it. If I knew that it was tied to health issues, specifically breast cancer, because I had heard that, I wasn't going to do it. And my doctor informed me that there was no higher risk of people having any specific issues, diseases, ailments, or conditions with people with breast implants than people that didn't. That there was no like proven correlation that was actually relative. So I moved forward, and that was February 2011. I went through a breakup that summer, and so I became super stressed and super tired. And it was emotional. You guys know breakups are emotional. So when I was tired, I started to think that was why. You know, I was exhausted. I was taking a nap every single day, not like a little short siesta, like full on exhausted 3-hour nap. I really just didn't have the energy to do anything. And so I just thought, you know, this is just part of what happens when you're recovering from a breakup. This is what happens with emotional trauma. And this is what happens with stress. Stress can take you out, for sure. So some of you guys may experience that, right? But, you know, the school year ended up coming around. I was going in my junior year of college, and it was September, October, November. And in November, I had my roommates in college say, Alyssa, we think that over fall break, you need to go get checked, basically. But I talked to my parents about it, and, you know, they kind of agreed with what my roommates were saying. We're like, let's just get some blood work done. So I did, and Lyme disease came back positive. And so for the last 8 years, I have gone through many different diagnoses trying to figure out what's going on with me. Everything from being diagnosed with Lyme disease and treating it, to having my doctor say, you're being a hypochondriac, the Lyme disease is definitely gone, getting tested again and having Lyme come back positive again, and then treating Lyme disease again, then going to feeling good for like 6 months, to then going to feeling like crap and having really bad brain fog, and having my psychologist say, maybe we need to switch up the antidepressant that you're on. Switching that up and seeing that it's not working. To maybe we need to have you put on something for ADHD because you're not able to focus, and we want to regulate your sleep patterns. And apparently you use ADHD medication for that a lot of times. And so, not knowing any better, I get put on Adderall. And then I'm like, oh my God, yeah, this must have been my problem because I can focus. And then the fatigue continues. And I'm like, well, maybe I just needed Adderall, but maybe my Lyme disease is back again. And you continue going through this cycle because you can have so many false negatives when it comes to test results for Lyme that you could still have it and it's not showing up in your system. It hides in your tissues, or it can go dormant for a little while. So I keep treating this thinking it's Lyme, it's Lyme, it's Lyme. Then I go to a holistic MD that specializes in Lyme, and I say, hey, now my test results are coming back that I don't have Lyme, but can you help me out because I am still freaking exhausted. I'm in between every single personal training client that I have and have to go out to my car keeping a pillow and a blanket in my back seat because I have to go in and sleep in between each one because I'm so exhausted. And you know, I've had a chronic disease specialist, a world-renowned endocrinologist, my PCP all tell me, you just have a type A personality. You just need to relax. You need to not work out as much. You need to not work as much. And I'm like, at that point I was, you know, by the time I saw Dr. Mulders and I'm 24, I'm like, there's something else going on. So we start looking for co-infections. We start looking at my gut. And as much as we found some other things in my body that we needed to address, such as like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth and, you know, overpopulation of yeast in my stomach and food intolerances and low pregnenolone levels and, you know, low thyroid levels. You know, we had to start supplementing with Armour Thyroid and supplementing with Cortef, which is a hydrocortisone tablet because my cortisol levels were so low. There are so many things that we started to supplement with, hoping that my situation would get better, that all my body needed was just to be supplemented with a little bit of Western medicine stuff and a little bit of holistic medicine regimens to be able to just have the chance to say, and just heal itself, because it didn't have to work as hard, because I was supplementing my thyroid stuff and supplementing adrenals and supplementing cortisol levels. And I stopped taking birth control. I started to clean up any product that I was using because I wanted to reduce my toxic load. So I was changing up my shampoo. I changed my conditioner. I changed my body wash. I changed our toothpaste. I changed my deodorant. I changed my house cleaners. I changed my freaking tampons because I didn't want processed cotton in my body. Guys, I'm just being transparent with you. All of the things. This is just the beginning of the list that I changed. I changed my water. I changed everything I could think of. I changed my makeup. And I'm like, how many more freaking things can I change? How many more things can I cut out? How many other things can I test for? Because there's a million tests out there. I mean, I know there's still blood tests that I haven't gotten done. But, you know, you get to the point where you're like, what the hell? Like, I'm now at age 28, and why does it seem like it's so hard for me to function like someone in their 20s? I feel like I am functioning like someone in their 50s or their 60s. I know 60-year-olds that feel better than I do. Rachel ended up telling me about 8 months ago about breast implant illness, and I'm always willing to listen to something, but I wasn't totally ready to receive it, because I'm thinking to myself, there is no freaking way. There is no way that I paid thousands of dollars to get these put in, and I have gotten to a point where I love and am so happy with my body, and I'm comfortable in my skin, and I'm gonna now pay to get these taken out for the chance that this may be contributing to my health issues. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. And so she had added me to this Facebook group, over 70,000 women in there. She was sending me articles and videos. And it's like I kept it there thinking, okay, you know what? If I exhaust all other options, then I'm going to go look at that. Because I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I didn't want to. There are so many reasons someone can feel tired. There's so many reasons somebody can have heart palpitations and gut issues and adrenal insufficiency, especially when you know you already had Lyme. And when you are, somebody that's been under chronic stress and have been working yourself really hard. But I promised myself I was going to start to knock some of these possibilities off the list. I needed to start crossing some stuff off, because guys, it's gotten to the point where I'm like, there's no way I would be able to have a kid like this. There's no way I would be able to, if I wanted to start a family, stay on the medications that I'm on and still have a child. There's no way that I would even have the energy to have a child and have a family and take care of one, to not even have the energy that I want to be able to have to give to my clients. See, many people don't know that. If they follow me, if they're around me, people see me situationally. I see people at my networking groups all the time that are like, you have a ton of energy. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I really hype myself up when I come here, and I show up, and I get really passionate when I am around people talking about business, or when I'm teaching on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube and sharing my story or sharing a really important message. But I can only hold out for that for maybe an hour or two, and then I'm done. And then I don't have energy to do the other things I want to do in the day. And my life wasn't always like that. And so I have to think what changed when my life became like that, and why. Because I've been doing all of these, even with all these other tactics that I have started, even with all these other biohacking methods that I've been taking, that have definitely helped manage my stuff much longer and be able to deal with what I'm going through, but not heal. Are you dealing instead of healing? Are you dealing with the problem instead of healing from the problem? That's where I was at. That's where I am at. And so I kept having the conversation back and forth with Rachel about wanting to exhaust other options before I ended up really looking at breast implant illness. And so she was like, why don't you look into mold toxicity, mycotoxins? And I'm like, okay, I will do anything to exhaust something else that will allow me to keep my boobs. So I ended up scheduling an appointment in January 2019 with my holistic MD that I had been seeing for the last 3.5 years. And I was like, I'll be totally honest with you, doc, as much as I try and manifest positivity and health and healing, because that's what I've been doing, guys. For the last 8 years, I'm like, I am healthy, I am healing, I am full of energy. And what I realized is that there's only so much positivity that you can have before you're like, maybe there is something that I still need to address beneath the surface. And you know what? Maybe this is placed in my life also for a reason, and that's my spiritual end of things, but I'll go into that in another video. So I went to go see him, and he was like, you know what, before I even brought up mold toxicity, he said, I want to do a mycotoxin test for you. So I got a urine test done to test for different mycotoxins in my body, and it came back, my test results came back with 4 different strains off the charts. So off the charts that my doctor was like, you need to come back in right now, and we need to talk about the protocol to get rid of this. And so I had the conversation with him when I went in there saying, you know, I want to do this detox protocol, but do you think that my boobs could be keeping me from getting healthy? And he had heard about breast implant illness. He was like, you know what, let's exhaust this option before we go and do something as extreme as that, because that's a big deal. It's another stressor to put your body under. It costs thousands of dollars to do. Not typically covered by insurance unless there are specific reasons, and yours may not fall underneath there. A lot of places look at it as cosmetic, so why don't we try detoxing first? So we focused on detoxing my body. We got our home tested and remediated for mold because we had mold in our house. And so I thought, okay, if I fix the environment, hopefully this is my answer. Please, fingers crossed that I get to keep my titties. Like, that was what I was thinking. And so I was like, I'm going to give this 90 days. I'm going to go through this detoxing process for 90 days. And I have. And I don't feel any better. And after a month, I know I wasn't feeling better. And after 2 months, I wasn't feeling any better. I would have loved even the placebo effect, but I wasn't feeling any better. After 3 months now, not feeling any better. And so over these last couple months, I've been diving into so many stories of women sharing their experience with breast implant illness and diving into it to see if this was crazy or if this was something that I should truly do. And I had the support of my husband no matter what, but what he was concerned about was me going backwards. Because just so you guys know, my husband's never known me without my boobs. So that big fear of mine was he fell in love with me. He didn't fall in love with my boobs, but so many people in my life now only have known me since I've been this way. And I know I am not my boobs. I know I'm not my boobs. But it's an extremely emotional thing when you have learned to love yourself this way, when you have built businesses this way, when you have built relationships this way, when you have found and married your husband with this body, thinking that you're going to lose some of it. And at first I felt so dumb. At first I felt so dumb being so emotional about getting my implants out, because I'm like, you know what, at least I'm not a breast cancer patient where I have to have a double mastectomy and have my nipples removed and be like, just feel like I'm completely invaded. And I was having a conversation with my dad about it the other week, and he was like, Alyssa, if this wasn't an emotional thing, regardless of whether someone has breast cancer or not, if it was an emotional thing to lose your boobs, then it wouldn't be so common for women who have breast cancer and get double mastectomies to get breast implants put in, and for insurance companies to actually pay for them to be able to do that, because it is such an emotional thing. Now, not every breast cancer patient does that, But he reminded me of that and said, you have every right to feel the way that you're feeling and to be upset and to be nervous. Because I got to the point where I was like, Dad, I don't know what else to do, because he's seen me in my lowest times, and so is my husband. This Christmas, I actually couldn't even go to our last stop because my body was so wiped, and I literally barely ate anything. I realized I'm missing out on life's events, and I have to face what the possibility could be. I have to face that my breast implants could actually be prolonging my healing, even if they're not what caused all of my issues. They are keeping me from healing from any issues I had before and any toxins and pathogens and infections and viruses that come my way. And eventually your body gets so tired of fighting that it just shuts down. And I felt like it was shutting down. I actually had messaged my friend Rachel, and I said, is it crazy that I sit here sometimes and I wonder, do I have cancer? Is it possible that I have cancer and I just don't know? Because that's how crappy I would feel. And so I was like, I have to look into this. I don't want to lose my boobs, but I have to look into it. And I started to look into surgeons, and I started to read story after story in the breast implant illness groups. I started to go through the B.I.I. and breast implant illness hashtags on Instagram and read story after story after story of women who went through the same thing as me. Tons of people with Lyme disease, tons of people with mold toxicity, because hey, saline implants have water in them and the valves tend to be permeable. So stuff gets in, stuff gets out, and it's a great breeding ground for infection and pathogens and fungus. And so I thought, I can't pretend I don't know this. I can't pretend that this isn't a problem. And I got super scared to start to think about how I was going to have to learn to re-love myself. Because I got so used to myself with where I was at. And I'm like, I can't not talk about this because it's going to be really apparent to everybody else too. I do videos and pictures all the time for my brand, my whole brand is online and virtual, and I can't go and do a Facebook Live one day with boobs and come on the next week and people are going to be like, where the hell did they go? And it wasn't just about vanity, it's about the fact that there are other women out there that they're told that they're crazy and they have no idea why they're struggling. And it doesn't mean that bad health choices don't have something to do with it. It doesn't mean that other choices that people are making aren't contributing to their illness or causing an illness. But I have exhausted, at the age of 28, so many options to the point where I'm afraid of what the next year, 2 years of my life will look like if I don't get my breast implants out. So today being April 28th of 2019, not this Thursday, but next Thursday, May 9th, I have my surgery to get my breast implants removed. And I am getting them taken out and getting the capsule that formed around them tested for pathogens. I'm going to get the fluid on the inside of my implants tested and see exactly what types of infections, how many infections, pathogens, mycotoxins are in there. And I need to continue spreading this message because, guys, I thought to myself, I'm like, I'm so comfortable with where I'm at. And my husband's thought was, what happens if you can't mentally deal with this? Like, he was afraid of what was going to happen to me and what was going to happen to us, because he knows what's happened in our relationship before when my head has been all over the place because of other stressors in life. And he knows that I had eating disorders when I was younger because of not being happy in my body. And so he's like, I know that you're trying to fix the health conditions you have right now, but is it going to be at the expense of your mental health? And I knew what he meant, and I know he was saying everything out of love. And the more I sat on it, and I thought about how to communicate it to him and to other people that asked me that same question, I said, I don't know my alternative. What else can I possibly do? What is my solution? I'm doing everything I possibly know how right now. But I have foreign bodies in my body for the last 8 years that I know have at least 6 or 7 different heavy metals in the shell of the implant that are made up of silicone that is semi-permeable, so it's going to be slowly breaking down into the bloodstream. And I already know I have a bunch of health issues that if my body isn't strong enough to fight against them because it's trying to fight against my boobs, that I'm not going to be able to heal from them. What is my alternative? I can have vanity. I can be confident in myself and my body, which I am right now. But if I don't have the health to be able to live my life, what the hell does it matter? What does it matter if I'm confident in the way that I look, if I'm on the couch? What does it matter if I'm confident in the way that I look and I can't even go outside? The fact that many of my days, it exhausts me just to go to Target and come back, or just to take my dogs for a walk around the block and come back. How can you live a life that way? And so for those of you who may be suffering with some of the same symptoms that I am, and you've exhausted some other options, or you're sitting there thinking, maybe it's just stress. Guys, stress can do a lot, but there are a lot of other things that are causing that stress that we aren't paying attention to. It's stuff in our products, it's stuff in our life, in our environment, in anything that we're consuming. But some of it is in stuff that you have to think about. Whatever you're putting in your body is what you're consuming. It could be a breast implant. It could be a birth control implant device of some sort. It could be a pacemaker. It could be so many other things. Guys, some of these things are necessary. But anything that is optional, I need you to think about how it could affect your life. And so I needed to talk about this before I got the surgery, because I'm going to be extremely emotional after the surgery. And I know that you guys always give me the best love and support. Like anytime that I've come out, when I told you guys in January that I had mycotoxicity and I was going through all the mold remediation and wanted to educate you guys so that you knew that mold is a big trigger for a lot of people and their health issues, you guys were so supportive. Saying that your boobs can be causing you a health issue, not as many people are going to understand that. Mold, people will be like, yeah, mold. Duh, it's going to cause issues. But I'm going to continue sharing my story. I'm going to continue keeping you guys updated on my progress, because I know a lot of people say, what if you get your implants out and you don't feel better? I thought about that. What if I get them out and I don't have an alleviation of symptoms and I still feel like shit? And that was my biggest issue. I'm like, what if I don't see any improvement. And then I just lost my boobs. And then I am not physically any better, and mentally I am just screwed. And my friend Rachel said to me, but what if you do? What if you do feel better? And I had to start asking myself, yeah, what if I do? And even if I don't immediately feel better, some women have this like incredible, like instant revival, or within a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And it depends on the other stressors you have in your body and your genetics and how long your body has been fighting these objects. But I thought, my body's not going to be able to heal from all the other issues that I know it is dealing with when it's battling against this other huge war inside of me. So I know I will be on in the future. I will be sharing my story leading up to my explant next Thursday. I will be sharing my story of recovery, because I'm sure many people will be wondering, did this even do what she thought it was going to do? And I just hope that I've educated somebody enough that they can at least start to think, could this be a cause of their problems? Could this be contributing to one of their friends' problems? Is this something that they want to do in the future? Are implants something that they even want to still consider? Knowing that breast implant illness is now acknowledged, starting to be acknowledged as a real thing, and that the FDA is having to make new statements as to the precautions and the warnings as to the autoimmune issues and certain types of cancer that have been linked directly to breast implants. We need to open our mouths. You know, the fact that implants have been on the market and these surgeries have been happening for, roughly 30 years, this is when you start to see the more long-term effects. It's the same way with a lot of medications, the new medications and whatnot that are on the market. Is it helping your condition now? Yeah, but we don't know down the road what effect it's going to have. And so that's what's happening now with breast implants, is we're starting to see what is going on. And enough people are becoming aware that these could be a culprit and be contributing to their problems, that they're opening their mouths. Because it's not just the 70,000 women in a Facebook group that are experiencing this. It is hundreds of thousands of women that don't even realize that these are their problem. So they're going to their doctor thinking, oh, I have all these autoimmune issues. I'm having ulcerative colitis and Crohn's and, rheumatoid arthritis and adrenal insufficiency and all of these Hashimoto's, all of these issues. They're thinking it's just their body, or they just don't know. And so they're not saying it's breast implant illness. They're not saying it's from that because they don't know. But as people start to know and they start to learn, the word is going to continue to get out. And so I just encourage everybody who's thinking about getting implants, who has implants, who knows people thinking about it. Over 300,000 women are going to get breast implants this year alone. Make sure you're educated. Know what the risks are and make the choice for you. And that's all that I can ask for you to do.